Hey guys, welcome. So what we're going to do today is we're going to watch an interview with Tom Brady by Patrick Bet-David. And he is an owner of a company called Valuetainment. And if you guys have not heard of him, he's got a podcast on YouTube that's very, very popular. It's excellent. I highly recommend you subscribe to him and follow him because he has everybody on. I'm talking from athletes to politicians to authors, scientists, everybody. So definitely watch that. But this is definitely an interview worth reviewing. So if you're wanting to watch the whole interview and you haven't seen it yet, the link to the interview will be in the description. Let's get started.
VonAllen Sports.
Even when I watch sports today and I see these guys on the range, they're all buddies and their caddies are friends, and that's not the killer instinct. I learned about resilience. I learned about gaining the trust and the respect of my teammates and coaches. Fame didn't motivate me. I didn't think about any of it.
Tom Brady, when we pulled up records, there's so many of them. Let me just read some of them here for you. Most games won by a player, 251. Division titles. Most career passing yards, 89,214. Most career pass completions, 7,700. Touchdowns. Most career passing yards with one team. And he's beaten every single team in the NFL, one of only 4 people to do it. Can anyone ever do this again? So, for example, Will Chamberlain, 100 points. I don't know. Home runs, 74 in a season. I don't know. Is somebody going to go out there and do this or beat Gretzky's record or beat that? I don't know if there's going to be another player to play for as long as he did and win 7 Super Bowls and break all the records. That may not happen in our lifetime. Now, we all believe in doing the impossible, but he made it so hard.
The reason why I say that no one's ever going to break the 7 Super Bowl record unless something drastically changes, okay? So somewhere in the future that we can't foresee, like you could stack teams to your heart's content and there's no salary cap, there's no nothing, and it goes back to the old days. Well, then yes, somebody could do it. Because if you take like Joe Montana's 49ers, if let's say if Joe could have played like 20 years, you know, the whole argument, theoretically, the odds are that maybe you could do it. You would have to keep stacking the teams. Okay. So you would have to keep everyone together. Everyone would have to stay healthy. It's not easy. I'm just saying though, it would make it possible if you did that. So we can't foresee that. But with everything basically as it is, where you know, you can't outspend the other guys and you have to be very intelligent with your money and how much money you spend. I just don't see anybody getting 7 Super Bowls. So I know that people right now are saying, hey, what about Patrick Mahomes? He could possibly do it. Let me tell you something about Patrick Mahomes real quick. The reason why. So let's say that the Chiefs, and I've discussed this in my live shows before, but if you've never seen that and you're just watching this video, I'll just briefly tell you. So with Mahomes, you've got to keep the team together. Andy Reid is the key to this, okay? And who knows how long he can keep coaching. He's not that young. And he's also a pretty unhealthy guy. He doesn't really take care of his health much. So anything could happen. But with that said, as time goes on, the NFL kind of knows who you are, and they have your style and what you like to do, your tendencies, they have it. And then other teams start building their teams around how to defeat you. And that's what's happened a lot in the league. How many teams that have geared themselves and actually set up their defense and set up their offense to compete with the Patriots or Tom Brady's Patriots? All right. It happens all the time. And it happens always with the team that's on top. People want to be like that. People try to replicate the Legion of Boom. And they wanted to have some of that. And then you had the no-fly zone in Denver, and people wanted to try to either combat it with a counter, or they wanted to actually become like that. And then it doesn't become unique, and you have to keep moving and keep staying ahead. The thing about Tom, and the reason he was able to do that, even though everyone knew what he was about, is because Tom played a very traditional game. It was all about knowing where your guy is, knowing what the defense is doing. And if you know that, it doesn't really matter what your style is. But Tom is a very unique case. It's a very, very rare trait to have. Also, in order to get 7 Super Bowls, you have to play a long time. It's 20 years. You've got to be in the league for 20 years in order to do that. If you look at Tom, he played in 10. If you look at Belichick, he played in 9 as head coach. It took Brady 10 Super Bowls to even get 7. The idea that anybody would play in 10 Super Bowls is ridiculous. And those 3 Super Bowls that they lost, they came close. So they could have been 10-0. So the point is it takes a lot. And you're not going to win them all. Just like the Chiefs. The Chiefs won in 2019, and they won a game that wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy game for them. Then they went back in 2020, and no one could have predicted that they were going to get the living shit kicked out of them. Okay, so 2021, they were the favorite to go back again, and all of a sudden, the Bengals, just out of nowhere, beats them. Okay, so 2022, they go back to the Super Bowl, and they win a very tough game, a back-and-forth game against the Eagles. So that's 2 out of 3. That's already 3 attempts. Tom needed 10 attempts to get to 7. Another thing about Tom Brady is that his entire life was dedicated to football. His entire life was dedicated to winning. The first several years of his career, he had a girlfriend. He was even engaged to Bridget Moynihan, but ultimately that fell short. And the reason why it fell short is because of his dedication to football and her dedication to her acting career. Tom then met, of course, Gisele Bündchen and eventually got married. And he did the same thing to Gisele as far as, listen, you need to know what you're getting into. If you're going to be married to me, you're going to have to understand that this is my life. And so Tom always made it very clear that that was the deal. Ultimately, ended up even costing him a divorce, but he still kept playing. So the thing about Patrick, specifically Patrick Mahomes, is that was immediately married to a very overbearing and a very borderline, in my opinion, psychotic wife, in a wife's sense, kind of psychotic and overbearing. And it's going to become a time where she's going to get selfish. And she's going to, right now it's new, it's fun. You know, winning is fun and she enjoys it, okay? But there's going to come a time where the kids are going to get older. She's going to start to be like, hey, you know what? This football thing is getting old. The newness of it is wearing off and the fun of winning. You can only love winning so much as a spectator. It's not happening to her. It's happening to Patrick. That's going to take its toll. And Patrick is going to continue to have like small injuries and things like that. It's going to catch up with him. It's ridiculous to even think that it's possible. But the only reason I mention him is because he's the only one with multiple Super Bowls. And he's got the stacked team. He's got weapons and an offensive coach in Andy Reid that Tom could have only dreamed of. He mentioned the 7 Super Bowl rings. It's not going to be surpassed. Gretzky's goals, maybe. With people playing longer and being healthier and stuff, maybe. But the baseball thing, don't know, don't care. Wilt Chamberlain, 100 points in a game, absolutely. That's probably going to happen eventually, just because of how pathetic the NBA has become on defense and all this stuff. But a guy would have to be more like Kobe and not willing to take nights off, unlike the superstars today who are doing what's called load management, which really should be called I'm a pansy management. And they don't care about the fans that much.
I consider this guy the GOAT of GOATs. Please stand up and give it up to the one and only Tom Brady.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. The GOAT. The GOAT. Hell yeah. I would love to have been there for this. Let's go, baby.
Nice to be with you guys.
I wish he was still playing though.
Are we fired up or what?
Hell yeah, let's go.
That's a little better.
Tom, are you
Usually when I go into the stadiums to get all fired up. So hope you guys are doing the work and listening and paying attention. Hopefully I can provide you guys with a couple little nuggets to take with you on your own personal journeys.
Let's go.
Are you always this fired up? Like even back when you were leading everybody back there. Like you're telling me what to do. You're telling Dylan what to. Are you always like that?
I think if you roll the football out there, man, I know what to do.
I got you.
Everyone finds their own interests. I was so fortunate to find a real love for sports. And it wasn't just, you know, hitting the ball, throwing the ball. It was the camaraderie of teammates. And,
absolutely.
There's so many things that I've learned over the years being a part of a team setting and being involved in sports and dealing with people and relationships. And yeah, it's about getting the ball in the end zone, but that's that's the final, you know, step in the process.
Exactly. So like he's saying, the touchdowns, the Super Bowls, all that is a result of hard work and resilience and determination. And then that is what you see at the end with the camaraderie, all of that. If you don't have a cohesive unit, this is for anything, whether you're at work or in the military or on a sports team or anything you do. If you don't, the camaraderie there, if you've got that, you can pretty much achieve whatever you want. And that all of that and the work and all that comes first, and then the result is those touchdowns and those Super Bowls and all those things. There was never a time where Tom Brady won a Super Bowl and didn't put the work in, and they didn't put the work in.
I grew up in a very sports-centric family. I had 3 older sisters who I always say were all better athletes than I ever was. And I was just like their punky brat little brother, and always cheered them on. And my dad loved sports. My mom loved sports. And it was just very much a part of our family. So many of the memories that I had as a kid were growing up on sports fields, going to the batting cage at night with my dad. Ultimately, I grew up on a street where there were, it was just a normal street in the Bay Area. There was 60, 70 kids on the street. This is when we used to play in the street. A lot of people in here probably played in the street too, but this was go down and make a right at the fire hydrant and, go right at the white car. Oh, don't get hit by the truck coming down, and the car would come and everyone would back off. So it was just a normal way to grow up.
I grew up exactly the same way. We'd play roller hockey in the street. You'd have to move the goal when a car comes. It's like Wayne's World, game on, game off, and then you'd have to move it and stuff. We played tackle football, all the time. Okay. My entire childhood, we played tackle football over at the armory. The National Guard has an armory there right at the end of our street, and all the neighborhood kids, there's a huge lawn there, and we would just play tackle football all the time. That was the life. That's what you did. It was fantastic. I just wish I would have taken it more seriously, or had somebody push me into that. Where I grew up, we really weren't taught that sports was a way get out of the small town life. Sports was not a conduit for success and to make a living. It was more of an attitude of sports is fun. It's something to do and keep you occupied, but it's not meant to be something that you can actually pursue in a serious manner. It was more of just about the parents living vicariously through their children a lot of times, but nobody took it seriously as far as actually going and making it to a league or something like that. And it's just unfortunate situation. They expect you to be a farmer or something like that.
That was just such a great way for me to grow up in the Bay Area with a love for football and a love for sports in general, but to grow up on a street where that's what we did. We played football, 2-hand touch in the street.
If I was in high school with you, 13, 14, 15 years old, did you always have an absolute killer instinct where I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove the wait to see what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill this guy when we face him. Was it always like that when you were in high school, or that kind of developed later on?
Yeah, I think it developed over a period of time. And I think there was a work ethic that was in me. I think most people probably know a few things about me, but I was never, I would say, like a prodigy. Certain players that had this unbelievable prodigy aspect to themselves. I saw myself as someone who probably had some other traits that maybe were hard to identify, but that were really sustainable over time, which was, I would say, work ethic and discipline. And that was instilled in me by, I think, my parents. I mean, there was part of it that they gave me, but also just behaviorally growing up in an environment where my dad was out to work every morning, trying to go make a living for our family. And my mom woke up every day trying to figure out how to make sure the home was comfortable for us and, to support the kids. So
he talked about his parents, and it's very important to have that, and it's going to help you along the way. My parents got divorced when I was really young. So by the time I actually became a teenager, I was already living in a single parent household. But across America right now, that is an epidemic that is plaguing the country, especially not just white neighborhoods, but black neighborhoods especially. So this is causing a problem. So if you're married and you've got children, keep your marriage together. Try to keep your marriage together. All it takes is just both people not being selfish and working together, because it's so important for your children. Trust me, if you get through it, you'll look back and you won't even remember what your problems were anyway. It's just pointless stuff. What he's talking about here, it sounds simple, but in this day and age, staying married and having both parents is so important.
There was this discipline that I had, that even as 13, 14, 15 years old, where all these other boys were, I went to an all-boy school in the Bay Area, and I remember showing up my first day as freshman year. I didn't have much, hair under my arms or anything like that. I was like, and these other kids came in shaving, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
This is actually kind of humorous because the same thing happened to me. I didn't even know that this happened to Tom. I started school much earlier. So by the time I was in the teenage years, like he's talking about, I show up to school one summer and all the kids have mustaches and stuff, and they're about anywhere from a year to 2 years older than me. I was like, what the hell's happening? When you're in like 7th, 8th grade, that difference is huge. The size difference. I didn't get my growth spurt until between 9th and 10th grade, I think. And then all of a sudden I come back to school, I'm 6'3". That's a big difference. But in the early years, the 7th and 8th grade and stuff like that, I was embarrassed because I didn't have a mustache like them and stuff. And I would wear a t-shirt in basketball underneath my tank top because I'm just younger than them. It's weird. So if you're a parent out there, I know that, a lot of parents live vicariously through their children. Don't skip your children a grade just because it makes you feel good and makes you, oh, my kid's so smart, I skipped them up a grade. Don't do that. The kid may excel and may be ahead of his time in that grade. But let me tell you something. Keep him in that grade, because if you keep him in that grade, he is the elite of that grade. He or she is the elite of that grade. So why are you going to put them at a disadvantage by moving them up against other people who are not even their age anyway? You're going to run into problems when puberty kicks in. It's going to be a huge issue. So the kid is not emotionally where the other kids that you put him in, the grade ahead, he's not going to be there emotionally, hormonally, all those things. It's not going to work. It's a bad idea. Just keep your kid in the grade he's supposed to be in and leave it like that. And you give them an advantage. Why take that advantage away from them? I believe my parents should have waited. Get your ego out of it is what I'm trying to say.
I didn't know how to put the pads on in my pants when I tried out for freshman football. I mean, I had never played until that point except in the street. So these kids came out there. They had helmets and shoulder pads that they had worn for 4 years through Pop Warner. I went on the field and I was like, I'm going to get killed out here. And my freshman year, I didn't even play. I was the backup quarterback on a team that went 0-8. That says a lot. I couldn't get on the field, and we never won a game anyway. I mean, it's one thing to be the starting quarterback and to lose. If they don't even think you're good enough to be a starting quarterback on a team that's 0-8, you must really suck. And the reason why I played my second year was because that quarterback quit because he's like, I'm not playing football anymore. We suck.
Something Tom says here about starting, probably in the area, they want to win games, and that's a priority, I'm assuming. But where I grew up in a small town, it didn't matter how good you were. They were going to start, and they were going to give the positions to kids whose parents were donating money to the school, or if your parent was a teacher or involved in the school somehow, they would start that kid over you. So there was tons of kids in our school that were more talented than the kids starting, and this is in every sport, basketball, football, all of it. I don't know if that was going on with Tom's school or not, but if you can't win a game and your quarterback won't win you one game, it's time to try the other quarterback. So I don't care what you think about him, at least let him play. So I'm just wondering how much of that was politics. It's worth mentioning.
No one's good at everything. I mean, that's just not the way life works. We're all talented at certain things, but we can really continue to improve our weaknesses if we're humble enough to identify them, and we can build on our strengths. And I think we're all trying to find a more well-rounded aspect to ourselves, but a lot of that has to come with this understanding about yourself that what you know is very limited and what you don't know is limitless. And you have an opportunity every day to surround yourself with people to help you grow. And that could be, in my case, it very much was my parents early on. My freshman year in football, I didn't even play. Literally didn't play. Maybe 2 or 3 passes. The coach from the sideline screamed at me one time my freshman year, "Brady, you're moving in slow motion." And I was slow as shit. Still am. And I learned to compete my first 2 years in college. In fact, I almost thought about leaving Michigan. And in my second year, I got a call from Steve Mariucci at Cal. And he said, "Tom, if you come here, you can start for us." and you're going into your third year. If you leave Michigan, you can come here and you can start for us. And of course, Cal was one of my great choices. I thought, shit, I could go home and be a starter. And I walked into Coach Carr's office, the head coach at Michigan at the time. And I said, Coach, what's my situation like? And he said, Brady, I want you to stop worrying about what all the other players on our team are doing. All you do is you focus on the starter, the second guy. You don't worry about what you're focused on. You came here to be the best. I want you at this program. And if you're going to be the best, you got to beat out the best.
People are always comparing themselves to everyone else. Oh, well, that guy's got the house on the hill, or that guy's got a nice car, or whatever. How come I'm not doing what they're doing? How come I'm not where? Everybody's journey is different. Everybody, how they got there, what they want, what their end results are, is all different. If I became a multimillionaire tomorrow, if I was just tomorrow I woke up and I was worth $10 million, I still wouldn't own a Bugatti because that's not my interest. Had I bought that car, everyone would be like, oh, I want that car. I need that car. But he's better because he's got that. Well, no, that's not what that means. But constantly, they always compare themselves to what's going on. And growing up, this is always like keeping up with the Joneses. That is not a healthy way to look at life. You've got to just worry about what you're doing, focus on what you're doing, and then things will just happen. We're having a special episode with a tournament drawing where we are giving away a brand new Xbox Series S for the member who is the ultimate VAS quarterback champion. For the first round of the tournament, the 12-sided die of fate determines your quarterback based on the top 12 quarterbacks of the season from, of course, where else? The VAS quarterback list. If you survive into the second round, you get to start choosing your own quarterbacks, and that's when the real strategy comes in, baby. All you need is a membership. Whichever level you sign up for dictates how many entries you benefit from. 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't want to miss this. It's going to be a lot of fun. So much. Oh my God. I mean, I'm sad I don't get to play in it, honestly. But you know what? I'm going to enjoy seeing which one of you can take this all the way to the end. So sign up. Check the description for the link. So don't wait. Do it now. VonAllen Sports. Let's go. The official rules to the tournament are posted in the description and pinned comment section of this video. You cannot purchase an entry directly. Entry is strictly a benefit for all members.
VonAllen Sports on Patreon. Fuck you. I'm joining.
And focus with the two that you got and make them as perfect as you possibly can. So I said, okay. So that's what I did. They'd put me in for those two. Man, I'd sprint in there like it was Super Bowl 49. Let's go, boys. Here we go. What play we got? And I did really well with those two because I brought enthusiasm. I brought some energy, and I had a little more confidence in myself. And it went from 2 reps to getting 4 reps because those two were pretty good.
Funny he mentioned Super Bowl 49 as the thing that popped into his head. The Super Bowl that surfaced immediately. You have to understand, Super Bowl 49 was the Super Bowl he won right after a 10-year drought where people thought they can't win the Super Bowl again. And he wanted to tie Joe Montana. So that was 4. That gave him 4. And after a 10-year period, 2 weeks after Deflategate, after he was accused of cheating, all this crap, and he's like, really? You think that is why I win? Screw you. And he goes in there and wins, right? It's just interesting. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know. It's just having fun with it. But he did say Super Bowl 49. There's some reason there. And I'll tell you what, Super Bowl 49 had a massive impact on me. I always say that's probably my favorite Super Bowl. Even Super Bowl 51, as great as it was and as amazing as it was, it didn't have quite the same effect as Super Bowl 49 had on me when Malcolm Butler intercepted that ball. And I just wanted that. I wanted to beat the Seahawks so badly. They were running their mouth, how cocky they were, and everyone thought they were going to be a dynasty and all this crap. And it just been able to ruin it for them, as were the Falcons. I had nothing against the Falcons. I liked Matt Ryan, so it wasn't that big of a deal that if we had lost, but losing to the Seahawks would have hurt. It would have been awful. It would have been just a disaster. So Super Bowl 49 sticks out for me. It is a massive thing for me, and I'm just wondering if Tom feels the same way. So he did say that. Out of all the Super Bowls he could have mentioned, he said that one. So that's interesting.
And before you knew it, through this new attitude, through this new shift that Greg had said to me, Focus on what you can control. Focus on what you're getting, not what anyone else is getting. Whenever you get an opportunity, you take advantage of it. You treat it like it's the Super Bowl. You treat it like it's game day. Go out there and treat practice like no one else does. And I did that and I went in there, competed really hard my third year, and I lost the starting job to Brian Griese. And Brian Griese led the team to a 12-0 national championship that year.
Wow.
So I was part of a national championship team, and I barely played. So I go into my fourth year, and I was like, now's my time. I worked hard to compete my first 3 years. Going into my fourth year, I got a great opportunity to play. And they recruited a kid named Drew Henson, who was one of the top prospects in the country from Michigan, right next door to University of Michigan. And here he was coming in the door that everyone knew about. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So all the fans and all the media, they weren't interested in Tom Brady, backup quarterback to Brian Griese. The competition's relentless. At first I was looking at the guys ahead of me. Now I got to be looking down at the guys behind me too. This is what we're going to do. You're going to start. Drew, you're going to play the second quarter. And I'm going to decide at halftime who plays the rest of the year. Drew comes in the second quarter. He says, Tom, you're going to play the rest of the game. We're down 4 points with 2 minutes left in the game. I drive him down the field. We score. We win the game. I'm like, man.
Let's go.
Way to go.
Let's go, baby.
I'm ready to keep this going. He says, we're going to do the same thing next week. Okay.
At this point, is this common? This isn't like coaches do this regularly, right?
No, it's totally.
This is totally.
Yeah, this is definitely not normal. And again, I was a team captain too. So, you know, I had to do what was right by the team, and I took that. That was like one of the greatest. I always say that was one of the great honors that you could have, was when all your buddies from college and these great athletes, they name you captain because they say, "Man, you deserve it. We want you to be the leader for us." So, I go into the second game of the year, and I start. Drew comes in, and he says, Tom, you're going to play the third and fourth quarter, which I did. And we won pretty handily. It wasn't against a great team. So we played at Syracuse, and I played in the first quarter. We didn't score. Drew came in through a touchdown pass in the second quarter, came in, and he said, Drew's going to play in the second half. And a fifth-year senior, captain of the team, 10-3, won a bowl game in my fourth year, got off to an undefeated start in my fifth year. And I was like, all right, let me cheer him on. I'm going to cheer him on. And we won the game. I stood up there and we sang the victors. I sang it louder than I ever sang after a game. Hail to the victors. And I wanted my teammates to know that I had their back, even if it wasn't right for me, or I didn't feel it was right for me.
That's good, man. That's awesome. That's hard to do, by the way. That's really hard to do.
So we platooned for another couple games. Sixth game of the year, we're undefeated. We're going to Michigan State. They had undefeated team. I started.
Wow.
Drew played the second quarter, and they started Drew in the second half. We didn't have a great third quarter with Drew in, so they brought me in, and they said, Brady, you're going to play the rest of the game. Almost the end of the third quarter. We scored 4 touchdowns from the mid-third quarter to the end of the game.
Let's go.
And we ended up losing. So we were 5-1. I walked in there after the game. All the teammates came up, said, great job. And Coach Carr said, we're going to platoon next week.
Come on.
And I was like, wow, we're really in on this platoon thing, huh? We played Illinois at home. We were huge favorites. I played the first quarter. Drew played the second quarter. I started the third quarter. I threw an interception. He took me out of the game. They put Drew in. Drew threw an interception. They took him out of the game. They put me back in, had a pretty good fourth quarter of the game, driving to win the game. Our starting center, we're in field goal position to win. I'm in the shotgun, snaps the ball 25 yards over my head to knock us out of field goal range. We lose the game to Illinois. And after that, Coach Carr said, the platoon's off. Tom's playing the rest of the year. We didn't lose a game the rest of the season.
Let's go.
So, and that wasn't just because of me. I want to be really clear. We had a great team. But what did I learn from that whole situation? It was a tough battle for me.
With Drew Henson, the going back and forth, okay? So because Tom was a fifth-year senior and was so patient and everything, I think Carr kind of screwed him over. What Carr did was really hurt his draft position and draft stock by doing that. Because in fifth-year senior, it's your job. You're the man. Drew's got other options in some seasons ahead for him, so he doesn't absolutely have to have it right now. But what this was pressure from the boosters, everybody who spends money on the university, and everyone behind it. College football is big money. It's not just about school. I know everyone knows that and it's common knowledge, but that's what this was about. This wasn't about what was best for the team as far as the coach saw it and how the school itself saw it. It's always the same thing. The players have to sacrifice. That's what's best for the team. But the coaches and the organization itself, whether it's college or whether it's NFL organization, they have ulterior motives. And the Drew Henson thing that's exactly what it was. There's no way, if you go back and look, that you think that Drew Henson is the better quarterback than Tom Brady. It's just not there. But Tom, of course, they didn't respect him. Drew Henson came in as the it boy, and all that. So he has to play automatically, And I want to give a shout out right now to some people I really appreciate. Tyree Vaughn, thank you so much for signing up for $50 a month on Patreon. Justin Chetlett, thank you so much for signing up for $50 a month. Anthony Preston, you're awesome. $20 a month. I appreciate it, buddy. Elf of Courage, last year's winner, $20 a month. Thank you so much. Nightly Sinister, $10 a month. Thank you. James Grant, $10 a month for several years now. Bitcoin Motorist, $10. Thank you so much. Ryan Dyer, $5. Thank you so much, Ryan. Appreciate it. Appreciate all of you. And if you guys sign up on the Patreon tier, I will give you a shout out as well. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much.
VonAllen Sports on Patreon. Fuck you. I'm joining.
So, of course, now I'm going to the NFL draft. And I'm like, all these pro coaches must have seen how good I was. I mean, they watched me at Michigan. We beat Ohio State. We were down 14 points in the fourth quarter against Alabama in the Orange Bowl. We came back and won in overtime. Man, I'm going to be a second-round pick. And, round 1, 2, and here we go. 6th round, pick 199. And I was like, all right, I'm going to make all those other teams pay.
Hell yeah. And I spoke about this in the second episode of the Brady Hate Saga, where the owners and even sometimes the coaches, they buy into the hype. They believe the hype. They follow it, and they think that they know better, and they don't really interview these guys and really understand what makes them tick. And it's very, very frustrating.
Here I go. I get picked by the New England Patriots in the 6th round, 199. And I always joke, when they called me, they said, Tom, hey, Tom, this is, Bill Belichick. We're, picked you in the 6th round. Like, we'll see you Monday. Like, get ready to go. To the Patriots, and there are 3 quarterbacks ahead of me. Sound familiar? So I was number 4. And Bill Belichick kept me as the 4th quarterback in my first year. Now, like there was just cuts the other day, they keep 2 quarterbacks most of the time on an NFL roster now. Bill Belichick saw something in me through watching me work a little bit and, watching my love for the game. All right, this kid's probably not ready to play, but, I like him. He's kind of tough and, he doesn't look that athletic, but, he throws the ball pretty well and he seems to really enjoy the game. So I'm going to keep him on the roster. And I finally see Drew Bledsoe throw the ball for the first time. And in my very naive, competitive way, because he signed a 10-year, $100 million contract with the New England Patriots when I was making $185,000, I looked at him and I go, I could throw the ball better than that. Which I was the only one on the field who saw that, and I wasn't, but I had a belief that I could if I worked the same way, and if I gained the trust and respect of my teammates in the same way, that if I ever did get that position, and I told this to my best friend who was one of my roommates in college, I said, if they ever put me on the field, they're never going to take me off the field. And they never did.
You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe those things, even if you know it's not true or nobody else thinks that. You have to.
I still feel like I could go out there and play at a high level, but I just... they need someone that's going to be in it year-round. And I think for me, that commitment's too much because my kids need me year-round too. And, that's the most you know, very important thing.
And that's what I mean. That's going to stop a lot of quarterbacks from getting 7.
I had
so
our guys
they
run
make
some
that
numbers
decision
here. So
early.
here's what we have. So for you, it has to be, you know how sometimes people use this script? I'm assuming it's a script because if I had to make that decision, I'm not having this script. Well, you know, I have to go talk to my wife and our family, and we're going to take some time off and decide what we're going to do next season and come up. It's a phenomenal script that everybody uses, right?
Yep.
But you know deep down inside what you're going to be doing. You know you're like, I'm going to come back because I want to get that next one. I think it was Edelman where you're like, hey, man, imagine if you beat Montana with 5. It's like, this guy's not going for Montana. This guy's going for Michael for 6. He wants to have 7, right? So did you know that's what you're doing to be the greatest of the greatest? Or was it a process that was an evolution?
To give my best, do the best with the opportunity I got, and to never let my teammates down. Those were my motivations. So
this is at the beginning, you were saying.
It's beginning and throughout. This is why people would say after, you know, a 2nd Super Bowl that we won, and a 3rd Super Bowl that we won, and a 4th Super Bowl we won in 2014 against Seattle, and a 5th Super Bowl against Atlanta in 2016, and a 6th one against the Rams in 2018, and then they go to Tampa. It was the same motivation. Money didn't motivate me. Fame didn't motivate me. I didn't give a shit about any of it. I always took less money because I wanted a good team around me. I didn't care about going to all these different places and doing those things. I just wanted to be my best. I wanted to go out there, and the team believed in me. I didn't want to let them down. Every year was different, just like in your business. Every year is different. You can't sit there and say, God, we had a great year. Let's just do the same. Like, you don't think everyone's watching? Yeah. The whole competition's watching, especially if you're good, but not let it get to my head. And not to think that I've arrived or to think that I'm something different or better than anyone else.
You can't sit there and just feel yourself, you know, and think that you're great. After the Eagles beat the Patriots, very next year they put in their hallway, you know, they're going to repeat and all this stuff. They just really thought they were awesome. You're not going to see Tom Brady doing stupid stuff like throwing a football outside of the stadium, risking. You could just throw your arm out. That's just absolutely idiotic to do. Or doing commercials where he's like, you know, the stupid tongue out and the no-look passes and all that, where you just completely miss Travis Kelce in the end zone. You know, all that kind of stupid crap. You're not going to see Tom do those things. And you can't be doing those things if you want to be the best. You've got to always believe that there's something more. There's something that you're not doing right, or there's something that you need to fix. You know, you've always got to have that. You've always got to get that drive and just, you know, I'm going to beat that shit and I got to fix it. And it sucks. And it's just not good enough. Let's go again. And you've got to have that determination. And that's exactly what Tom is all about. And the teams had the same mentality. It's a new year, man. We may have won the Super Bowl, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't exist. Okay. Week 1, everyone is 0-0. It doesn't matter. Every single team is possibly the team. You just don't know, and you've got to earn it. No one cares about what you did before. As far as they're not going to like play worse against you. They're going to play their best, and they're going to give you everything you can handle, and then some. Okay, so he's right. And too many teams. This is why teams aren't repeating. It's so difficult.
You don't start as Super Bowl champ. Kansas City Chiefs, they're not the Super Bowl champs this year. They were the Super Bowl champs last year. And nobody could take that away from them. That is theirs forever. They have a banner. They have a ring. It's great. But it doesn't mean anything for this year. And that's the challenge of sports. That's the challenge we all face. That's the level of discipline. I was so blessed to have this discipline over a really long period of time.
And that's such great advice, guys. You definitely take that to heart. Now, notice that this interview is for Valuetainment, like I said, but this is a business seminar. This is for entrepreneurs and business owners, and the things he's going to be talking about. A lot of it is motivational stuff and how to approach and how to see things. So it's not just a football conversation. It's not just about the NFL or his career. It's not the typical Tom Brady interview where they're just asking about football. So that's why I would stop and mention things that I normally wouldn't mention. But this discipline thing that he's talking about 6 months ago, just tell you something personal here. I started noticing that I'm not feeling right. That like something's not quite right. Something's missing. You know, I'm getting older. Felt like I was taking things for granted, you know, and every New Year's, I don't do a New Year's resolution like most people. I actually do an evaluation. I look back on my previous year and say, am I better today than I was a year ago? And I give myself a grade. Yes, I improved these things, but these things could be improved more. And for this last New Year's, for the first time in a while, I wasn't really happy with my assessment. I didn't like who I was last year. I didn't like a lot of things that I was doing or not doing. I just didn't like my approach. It's just something wasn't right. And I'm not going to go over everything, but I'm just trying to say that I knew that something had to change. So I started changing things, even small things, okay? When I get up in the morning, I try to make the bed, or, you know, normally I wouldn't do that. I just would get up and not care about that. You know, and you do your normal morning routine, but I'd make the bed, and that just had to happen. And then I would eat a certain item that I like or something like that. Then I would go and I would hit the pool, get it, lay out in the sun for, you know, about 20, 25 minutes, get the vitamins in me. That makes me feel good for the day. Come back in, and then I make sure to go out on my balcony, let my cats go out there, have some squirrels I feed and stuff, and just sit there for an hour. I have to sit there for an hour with as much nature as I can get towards, because I'm on the 3rd floor in West Hollywood. So this is the closest I can get to it, but I just need some peace and quiet. I live in a good neighborhood, so it really works. And I see people walking their dogs and everything, but that hour is essential. I have to have that hour every day. And then that gets me ready for the rest of the day and just working and doing my thing. But these little details, these little bitty things that have to happen over and over again. I love drinking soda. Okay, I know it's bad for you. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I don't do anything like that. But I do drink soda. But in order to drink a soda, I have to drink an entire bottle of water. And I keep having to do that before I can get it. So there's just these little things that I'm doing to myself. What Tom is saying is absolutely right. And you really, really, really recommend you trying to do that for yourself. So.
Now, oh, come on, Tom, don't you go out there and just have whatever you want now that you're done playing? And I'm like, no, man, this is still my asset. This is still my body. Look at what we dealt with at COVID 3 years ago. That can withstand the traumas that it's going to be faced with. And in football, it's faced every week. You're getting a car crash every single week. So how do I develop a body? Have whatever you want now that you're done playing? You guys see that cut? And I'm like, no, man, this is still my asset. This is still my body. Look at what we dealt with at COVID 3 years ago. That can withstand the traumas that it's going to be faced with. And in football, it's faced every week. You're getting a car crash every single week. So how do I develop a body proactively? How do I think about my health and wellness proactively? I wonder what he said about COVID. So I don't find myself in the surgeon office at the end of the year. So I don't find myself as a 50-year-old former athlete who needs a knee replacement.
I don't know what he said about COVID. They cut it. You can hear the hard cut there, and then it just skips to something else. I can at least tell you what I know as far as following Tom Brady and knowing what he's about and things that he said in the past. And the thing about COVID is when it happened, on Twitter, he posted a quote from Franklin Delano Roosevelt that said, his famous line, "All we have to fear is fear itself." And he was saying that people need to just chill out. It's just eat right, take your vitamins, do the right things, and you will be fine. And that's what he was trying to get across. As far as the shot, there is no way in living hell that Tom Brady got that shot, okay? He never got that injection. There's just no way. It didn't happen. The NFL, it was a PR stunt. They just wanted their players. They wanted to be able to say that their players got it, but they weren't really going hardcore to see if what they were getting. I'm certain Tom was injected with saline solution, or probably didn't even have to do that. He probably just had a doctor say that he got it, and that was good enough for the Buccaneers. Tom is psycho about what he puts into his body, and with his attitude towards that, and coming up with supplements and stuff to not combat COVID, but specifically, but for your immune system in general, which is a good thing to do. The better your immune system is, the better you can fight off all kinds of things. And that's what he's trying to say is you just got to stay that way, even if you're not an athlete. He didn't get it. He didn't get it. There's no way. You know, you've heard Aaron Rodgers talk about how he said, he made a joke one time. He said, there's a lot of players that you think got it that didn't. He's friends with Tom, and they're pretty much on the same page, both socially and politically. Not everything, but so it's not a stretch to think that he was saying something along those lines. I don't know what he said, but yeah. But they cut it for a reason. I find it funny how there's no players in COVID protocol all of a sudden and all this. We know it doesn't stop you from getting it. So what happened to the protocol? What happened to all those things? See, I remember Bruce Arians bragging how his team had the most and all that. And then Antonio Brown got in trouble for faking his vaccine card. Well, that's only because someone told on him. And once someone told on him, they had to act. They couldn't ignore it. So they had to do something about it. But come on, a lot of players faked it. I would really like to know what he said, but I guess we're not going to get to, so unless you were there live.
If you're not watching VonAllen Sports, fuck you.
Well, and I tried to prove to everybody, guys, it doesn't have to be like that. You just got to make good choices every day, as good as possible. And I still get people that go, how did you do it? And I'm like, I wrote a freaking book. I literally wrote a book. Buy the book. I mean, not to buy it from me, but buy it because it's good knowledge.
Yes.
You know, like go out there. I'm trying to give you answers to the test.
The TB12 method is good.
A lot of athletes want to maximize their
true.
potential, maximize their opportunity. You guys want to maximize the potential and opportunity you have in your business. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of consistent
it's not
discipline.
Nonsense.
It doesn't mean that you can have one good month. It means that you got to do a lot more right than wrong.
Yep.
It means you got to make a lot more good choices than bad choices. It means you have to be more disciplined than not disciplined. It means you have to surround your people with very smart people, not people that are going to help you think less. You got to challenge yourself, not challenge yourself less. How disciplined are you to maintain that routine over a period of time?
Absolutely.
And I think that will determine your level of success.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Tom.
It was one season at a time, and I'll say this. I never once in my life ever said I wanted to be the best of all time. Ever. I wanted to be the best I could be, period. That's all I wanted.
That's a problem that LeBron James has. When he was coming into the league, he just wanted to be the greatest of all time, and it really doesn't happen like that. To be the greatest of all time, you just be the best you can and then see what happens. And that's the worst thing that LeBron ever could have done, was sit there and talk about how he wants to be better than Jordan. He wants to beat Jordan, all this stuff. It's just nothing but that. And then everyone's waiting on you to win 7 championships, one more than Jordan. And so when you win 1 or 2 or championship 3, no one cares. They're just thinking, oh, it's just another step, instead of celebrating for what it is. If LeBron James came into the league and never said anything about trying to beat Jordan or trying to be the greatest or anything and just won, then all of his championships he's won so far would have been celebrated a little more and would have been seen as a celebration for him specifically, not just something that he was supposed to do because he's wanting to be the greatest and everyone said he's going to be the greatest. It takes away from him. And then he probably wouldn't have bounced around like an idiot trying to chase rings all the time. So what Tom is saying is, I absolutely believe him. There's no way that he was thinking, oh, I'm going to be the greatest of all time and all this stuff. He just wanted to do what he done. And then it happened. Now, at some point when he got up there, when he got 5 and 6, and it's like he's thinking, okay, I've got to cap this baby off. There's no way it didn't leak into his mind. He's not going to admit that because he's a classy dude and he's not going to brag about himself, and he's not going to. That's a very LeBron James thing to say, to be honest with you. But there's no way he didn't think that. Okay, he's human. He's a competitor. That's just how it is.
For different reasons, last year was a hard year for me, one of the hardest in my life. And I printed out the man in the glass,
divorce,
the big poster, and I put it on my mirror in the bathroom, and I looked at it every single day. And I said, be proud of the man in the glass. Be proud of that man that wakes up every day and does the best that he could do with his priorities, and a lot of things happen in our life. We all face our challenges and adversities, and we all go through things. And I think life is about dealing with a lot of things that you didn't want to have happen. You try your best, you work hard, but it just doesn't in the end go the way you want. So what are you going to do? Quit? You're going to just blame everyone else? You're going to go in there and blame the guy next door and blame that person and blame the dog? And
I don't know how many guys that were the GOATs, their teammates, freaking everybody loved them. dude, people love you.
That's
like
true.
teammates loved running with you. You played 3 different careers. You didn't have one career. You were one of those guys that had 3 careers there you played.
Yeah.
But what was your style where you kicked their ass, you challenged them, yet you believed in them? What was the method of you driving your guys?
Do you care about the other person? And do you collectively care about what you're trying to achieve? The only way people are going to feel that they can trust you is if you care about them. So if you just see them as a transactional relationship, oh, you're just here for this time being, or, well, that's all they're going to give you. But I felt like I need to connect. Especially as I got older, I got to connect with the young players. I need a relationship. I need the ability to relate to them. They need to trust me. I need to trust them. We need to be vulnerable to one another. I need to care for them. So before I could yell at them, which believe me, I yelled at a lot of people, the relationships I had with my teammates, I played with guys from all over the country, every background, every college. And man, I got to be just me. Like, people, you would think, oh man, you're treated a certain way, which when you outside of a building, people know you, they see you on TV, they treat you a certain way. When you're in the building, man, you're just another guy. You're like, my son went to camp for 3 weeks, sleepaway camp, and there's no electronics, and this is up in Maine this year. There's no electronics. They sleep in like this log cabin. They swim in the lake every morning. They eat in the cafeteria. And I drive away last year, and I'm like, we all need more of that.
Yeah.
And then about 5 minutes later, I was like, well, I do live that life. I'm still a football player. We're all in this building where we're eating in a cafeteria. We're getting MF'd by our coach. We're showering in the same spot. It's an all community. So this ability to have this relationship with so many people is been a great part of my life. And I think my ability to relate to them, care about them, they felt like, well, if Tom, why should Tom care about me? And I'm like, dude, because you're my teammate. Oh, I know, Tom, but you've already won 6 Super Bowls. I'm like, I don't give a like we have this year.
Yep.
This is the year, my first year in Tampa. I don't care what I did. Like I look at those things one day and I'm like, oh, that's great. Someone's going to say it, but this is the moment right now.
Exactly.
Let's get to work. Let's get to know who you are. Let's get to motivate you. Let's make the most out of your career. Like my career is great. But I want the best for your career too. And if it's going to be your best career, you need me to be good and I need you to be good. So let's work together because every year those things change.
Well, was it more selling the culture to the player, or was it more, no, man, this is our culture. Either adjust or I'm sorry, it's not going to work out?
I think it's a great question. And it's like, it's hard to develop culture, right? Because that's a word that's thrown around a lot. And I think has to do with like values of the company. But in the end, what does culture mean to me? Do we care about each other? And do we care about what we're trying to accomplish? Most people just care about themselves. And you just care about your own personal situation, my coworker, what the mission is, the owner usually doesn't think like that because this is his business. But the more you give people the opportunity to have ownership of that culture, the better. Like you show up to the Naval Academy, like, man, that's a culture. And people are accountable to that. They show up every day. They show up on time. They respect each other. Everyone's probably got different tenets that they believe in. But the fundamental belief is I'm giving myself to something greater than myself.
I'm glad you mentioned the Navy.
I'm giving myself something greater than me as an individual. And then some other players are like, dude, that's what I want. I want to win. They joined our program. You need people that drive the culture because it just can't be you. Because when you turn your back to focus on what you got to do, you need other people driving the culture too. And we developed a culture of culture drivers. Willie McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi, Mike Vrabel, Troy Brown, Wes Welker, Kevin Falk, Matt Light, all these guys that it was inherent to what the team ultimately ended up becoming. We all drove the culture. And then no one was going to fuck it up.
And see, he's being a bit modest here. He's talking about the Patriot way, but you can't have the Patriot way for very long if you don't have the quarterback, the main guy, selling it. Okay, so he did mention the other players, and it's true. They definitely did drive the culture, especially early on. But as time went by, there was no way that Belichick was going to be able to sustain that without Tom selling it, where Tom would allow himself to be ridiculed and talked down to during practice and during film work and stuff like that. Without Tom doing it, it doesn't matter what the other guys are doing at a certain point, to be honest with you. So he's being a bit modest as far as not talking about how important his impact was, but I just want to point that out, that without Tom doing that, it doesn't matter. Look at the Patriot way right now. Bill has had to pull back a bit. He cannot be the way he used to be because he doesn't have that guy in the locker room selling it for him. It just doesn't work. It's not the same. It's something that you have to have. The Colts and Broncos, when they had Peyton, that's why they were able to achieve with Peyton, not just because of his on-field ability, but because there was no time to screw around, and you could instill discipline and you could do these things. You know, Peyton Manning goes on to the 2015 Broncos team and wins the Super Bowl with them. He really wasn't helping on the field. He wasn't an exceptional player at that point, but his presence, the fact that he was on the team and he was there, that put through everything that team was feeling and what the coaches wanted, and everyone was in line. The reason I reacted to he mentioned Wes Welker. I'm not so sure that Wes Welker was a culture driver. I'm not disagreeing with Tom. I know that he appreciates Wes and stuff like that, but I'm surprised that he didn't mention Julian Edelman, to be honest with you. I think Wes, I don't know. It seems to me that Wes over time didn't become a team player. He became selfish and he became all about me. And that's why he had to leave. He couldn't handle Bill Belichick's coaching. He couldn't handle it. And it's just, he left Tom. Tom took a pay cut in order to get Welker, and then Welker still left and took less money. It's because it turned out being less money in the contract to go to Denver. So that was, I don't know about mentioning Welker in that, but whatever. Also, just want to remind you guys that the formula quarterback submission is coming soon, so make sure you go to patreon.com/VonAllen and sign up and get your entries.
So you got some people that came in from other places, and man, they might have had maybe a certain reputation, and they realized that when they got in that locker room, I can't make bad decisions here.
Chad Ochocinco.
There's no room for bad decisions in this place. Now, not that we were all like angels or nothing. We
Antonio
weren't,
Brown.
But we weren't destructive to what the culture was. And those guys who were, they didn't last long. And they realized pretty quickly they didn't fit in. And they moved on somewhere else. And my view was always like, man, if you're about yourself, you may be amazing. I would love to compete against you. Go play for the other team. Because when you're around a bunch of selfish people, and I've been around those, you know, guys that you win the game and they're pissed off because they didn't get the ball as much as they wanted. And you're like, there's one ball. I'm trying my best. I'm trying to do what's best for the team. Like, there's a lot of other good players here. Some days it's going to be your week. Other days it's not. But what are we in this for? We in here to pad your statistics, whether that's because we all get accolades for those, and we have you know, people that want to see us succeed. But in my view, the team's success was always most important.
It's very, very obvious that one particular person that he could be speaking about is Antonio Brown. Okay. So what Tom did for Antonio Brown is extraordinary. He bent over backwards for him. What Antonio did in podcasts, specifically actually a podcast with Patrick Bet-David here. It's ridiculous what Tom did for this guy. And he just didn't care. Antonio Brown didn't care. Antonio Brown is a garbage person, a garbage human being. He's just a pathetic piece of shit. So, but yeah, he wasn't worried about winning. He was worried about, oh, I didn't get the ball, blah, blah, blah. There were actually rumors that Randy Moss started acting like that towards the end. So there was also some, you know, things about contract situation and stuff like that. But Randy regretted what he had done after he left. But the Antonio Brown thing is fresh on Tom's mind, and Tom still hasn't really addressed it. And I wish he would, but he's not going to do that. He's just not going to do that. He knows, and we know. So he doesn't really have to, does he?
the record that you would read off before I came on stage. What you said was your teammates loved you. That's the greatest reward I could ever have.
I'm telling you, when we had the guys there at, please, when we had the guys there at Foxborough.
Don't fall for it. He loves the records too.
What drove you more? Did words of what other people said about you in the paper, media drive you, kind of like Ted Williams was driven by that? Did, hey, Tom Brady is done, you know, Max Kellerman, every freaking season, now he's done. Is it more Peyton Manning's the better quarterback between the two? And it's just going to, like, you know, Joe Montana just yesterday said, well, the greatest quarterback of all time is Dan Marino. We all know that. It's not me. It's not Joe. It's Tom. Okay. Did that drive you?
Okay, so Joe has switched his game now to, it used to be about, oh, Otto Graham had 1 million championships, Sammy Ball had 1 million championships, so he was trying to minimize all the rings Tom has, and this was when Tom had 5 and 6 when Joe was saying this stuff. But now that Tom has 7 and obliterated Montana's ring count, now apparently Joe is talking about Dan Marino, who has 0 rings, and Joe, of course, feels that if he makes it about Dan, then at least he's not losing the #1 slot in that sense. And it makes him seem humble and nice and generous. It's really, really, I'll be honest with you, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. And it's something that Joe Montana should not be doing. And I would have all the respect for him in the world if he would just say, you know, what Tom's done is incredible. 7 rings in an era where you have a salary cap and you can't spend money and you can't do these things. And I would just go to battle anytime someone wants to say something bad about Joe Montana and all that. But the way he's acting, and Dan Marino, are you kidding me? Dan Marino, of the Hall of Fame quarterbacks, one of the most selfish. Okay, easily one of the most selfish, and that's one reason why he doesn't have a ring. And he cared a lot about his stats and all that. And it's just the greatest of all time. Dan Marino. There's more to be in the greatest of all time than just one thing. Throwing the football or you know, the way you dunk a basketball and you know, just there's more to it than that. It's an all-encompassing thing. Are you the ambassador for your sport? Are you a great teammate? Does everyone love you? Like PBD was saying about Tom. Dan Marino, great thrower of the football, amazing, but he's lacking everything else. You can't call that guy the greatest of all time. He's just not. It's just ridiculous. So, yeah, Joe's angle here is very, very disappointing. So he's always changing it. It's ridiculous. He has to make it not about rings now.
The greatest of all time, the GOAT. I mean, listen, everybody says he's the MJ, he's the Jordan of this, he's the Jordan of this. And why are they saying he's the Jordan? Why don't they say he's the Brady of this? He's the Brady. I want to change. And I don't know if you're going to be, you know, fully comfortable to serve, because some of these guys are your relationship, your friends. Which one drove you the most behind closed doors?
I think that the point is like the attachment of someone else's thoughts about me they did 1%. And here I was a little bit older, but I was still pretty decent as a player.
Another cut in the video, and, that was weird.
I was like, all right, free agency's coming. And I called my agent and I was like, all right, what's the deal? Like, what are we thinking? He went off a list of teams, right? And there was probably 7 or 8 teams. And in my mind, I'm 7 or 8 teams. Like, there should be 20 teams. You're telling me there's that many better quarterbacks than me? Or you can be motivated by
more than 1%.
But I'm saying you could be motivated by a newspaper article or a talk show debate or by people saying Peyton Manning's better. But at the end of the day, I don't think that motivates you every day. I just don't. I don't think you wake up every day super motivated to go read the newspaper. I think you wake up every day and hopefully you can look at yourself and say, did I give it my best? Was that my best? Did I give it everything I could? Did the people around me get as much as I could?
Ultimately,
and the answer is no,
that.
that's okay. Last year in Tampa, it was tough. When I see a defense sack the quarterback and every D lineman runs up to the guy who sacks the quarterback and they do a group celebration, I go, oh, I don't want to play against those guys.
Yep.
But then I see one guy sack the quarterback and he's got his 9th celebration and, you know, and none of his teammates celebrate with him, I'm like, well, he's in it for himself. You know, that's not going to go well over a period of time. So
in the context of talking about teams that were selfish and teams that had no discipline and no accountability, and then he refers to last year. And we all know what happened last year. One of the worst coaches of all time, and one of the worst head coaches of all time, I should say head coaches of all time, Todd Bowles. So no discipline last year. No one was held accountable for anything. Everyone was resting on their past accolades. Even the great Tom Brady could not motivate these guys, because even on the defense, no one cared. Okay. No one cared. No one cared on the offense. Everybody just thought they were too good to be spoken to, and everyone was out for theirs. And that's exactly what Tom is referring to here. And I'm glad he did that. And when you're talking, you're being honest. You're in a frame of mind. So the reason he mentioned them in the context of people not doing what they're supposed to be doing and not being held accountable, and that was on top of his mind, because he certainly can't say that about any Patriots teams. So he's clearly referring to last year, which is the worst situation he's ever been in, worst coaching job of all time. Todd Bowles, when you have the GOAT and you have all those great players on your team, and you can't perform any better than that. And we all experienced it last year, week to week to week to week, how pathetic it was. But I'm just glad that Tom pointed that out.
I could hold a grudge as good as any of them out there, actually. That was good aspects of I would say the motivation. Like it's very different. Like I didn't have any friends on the other teams. I didn't, you know, and I think it's a little different day and age.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't. I
Even
was
ex-teammates that left?
Well, yeah, to a degree, but my friends were the guys that were in the battle with me. So
sick.
It's very different in today's age, which I actually think is a little, you've got to create a lot of different emotion to heighten your sense of awareness and focus. Like for me, anger was good. Anger was good because it was motivating. The more I could create an enemy, the more I wanted to go out and kill those guys. Now, I knew I wasn't going to kill them physically, but man, if I could just, what did they say? You know, and what did they look like? And did they disrespect me at all? You know, and did that still say something? Like, those are little things that can get me right in the emotional frame of mind that when I ran on the field and I said, let's fucking go. It was really, let's go kick some ass. That's what we were doing.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of smiley faces with me out there. There wasn't a lot of smiley faces with Michael Jordan. There weren't a lot of smiley faces with Kobe Bryant.
Notice, I'm talking about himself, Jordan, Kobe. He mentions Kobe. Everyone knows that Kobe's got that. Doesn't mention LeBron. Doesn't mention the quarterbacks of today, because they're all wusses. They all hug each other and fondle each other before the game. It's like, come on, man. What is this? What is going on exactly? Enough of this brotherly bullshit, okay? And, you know, after the game, you want to talk, whatever, who cares? But I don't even like that, actually. I don't even think you should communicate in a lovey-dovey way the entire season, but that's just me. But there's no one has that I'm going to go out there and just destroy you mentality like Tom has and Kobe and Jordan. It's gotten very soft, and it's very annoying.
Even when I watch sports today and I see, like, golf's a good example. I see these guys on the range.
Yeah.
Like they're all buddies and their caddies are friends. And I'm like, that's not the killer instinct. That's just not. I don't know how you can want to crush the competition, because they are your competition, but then to like have dinner with them the next night.
Yep.
Now, I had a few friends, like, because maybe it was a long period of time, but I could count on one hand the number of maybe Peyton Manning and I love Peyton. Maybe I've had dinner with him twice in 23 years. And it's not because I don't love him. I really do.
Twice in 20 years.
Probably.
23 years.
And, you know, our competition was always like, I looked up to him so much. I admired Peyton Manning. Like, I loved his game. I loved everything he did. But that guy, if we wanted to get where we wanted to go, we had to get through them. So I had to create something different in my mind. He couldn't be my friend. You know, when I see that with a lot of the guys that, Drew Brees, I love Drew. He was incredible, but he wasn't my friend. Now he's my friend because I'm not competing him against anymore. And I just think it's different now because of social media, the ability to connect with everybody. Everyone's friends now in sports all the time. And I'm like, I don't get that. That's just not my thing. So, and it's not that I'm trying to be a jerk, but in my job, it's different than my person. It's interesting. Like when I was a quarterback, I was just playing quarterback. Yeah, it was me, the person, but it was me, the quarterback, that was out there because I was doing a job. I wasn't the father. I wasn't the dad out there. I wasn't, the husband out there. I was the quarterback out there on the field. I was the quarterback when I went to work. Nothing was going to get in the way of that. And then when I stepped off the field, great, I'm back to who I am. I had to draw on a part of me that was emotional, aggressive, angry, decisive, irrational, all those things. And then when I came back into life, okay, well, calm down, So, but I would say a lot of the guys that I looked up to approached it the same way. I don't think Jack Nicklaus was trying to be friends with anybody. I don't think Joe Montana was trying to be friends with anybody. I don't think Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson were trying to be friends with anybody. No. I think they were going out there on a mission. And if there was someone in their way, they had to crush them.
Question, let me follow up. So you said Peyton Manning. To me, Peyton Manning is a competitor. It's like Michael Clyde, Michael Barkley, it's like a Magic.
Yeah.
Did anybody disrespect you that you said, it's done?
I would say there were I can't think of any competitors off the top of my head.
Coaches.
I like the guys that would and I remember a few instances. You guys remember Ndamukong Suh?
Of course.
Okay.
Ndamukong.
And he ended up being a teammate, thank God. Because Ndamukong was one of the biggest, fastest, most explosive athletes the league has ever seen. And the Dolphins signed him to a $20 million a year contract.
Yeah, I remember. I was not happy about that.
They were in a division, so we see him twice a year. And he had a reputation that, he was played to the echo of the whistle.
The echo.
And I would always try to butter the D linemen up because I didn't want them trying to hit me any harder than they already were trying to hit me.
Yep,
they
smart.
get paid a lot more the more they kick my ass, which that's good incentive for them. So every opportunity I could get, I would try to be like, you're a great player, man. Stay out of my backfield. Man, damn, you really hit me hard on that one. So in Ndamukong, one time we were playing in Miami, and he had been in the backfield a couple plays in the game, and I can feel it because I let go of the ball, and then this heavy arm would come in and just boom. And I'm not that big. I mean, and when he hits you, it's different than everyone else hitting you. And I never wanted to show him that, God damn, that hurt. So he got me a couple times early. So it was the second drive of the game, and we were driving the ball, and I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I dropped it, and I threw the ball. And just as I threw it, boom, he hit me again. And I'm like, how did he get here that quick? So I slapped him on the butt. And I go, dude, stay out of our fucking backfield today. And he looked at me and goes, I'm not your fucking friend. And I was like, I respect that.
I respect that.
I do. I respect that.
I never said another word to him.
I like Sue even better now.
And he became my teammate a few years later. And I love being his teammate. But look, he didn't give that, I'm won this or won that or had this or that. And there were a lot of guys that were. A lot of guys would come up to me and they'd be like, hey, man, it's an honor to be on the field with you. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, they're done.
I own your ass.
Here we go. It's going to be easy. Today's going to be easy.
Reminds me of when Sean McVay was talking to Belichick before Super Bowl 53.
You got 6 rings. What drove you more? Was it to get one more than Belichick or one more than Michael?
It was neither. I promise you.
Shit.
When I really doubled down on my health and wellness in about 2013 with Alex, who I referred to earlier, and I said when I turned 30, I want to play till I'm 40. And I started to improve in my 30s, which doesn't really happen for athletes. I had all these years with Belichick. Mentally, I knew what to do. Physically, I was improving. Emotionally, I was at a great point. Why can't I continue to go? And I just thought, man, I'm going to play 10 more years. And when I was 35, I was like, I feel better at 35 than I did at 30. Like, I still got another 10 years in me. I said, I'm going to play till I'm 45 years old. And last year, I was 45 years old and playing. So when I made that decision at 35, it wasn't, I'm going to play until I win 7 Super Bowls. I never once said that. We won the 5th against Atlanta, which was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, that game, my teammates, like, that was sick. That was incredible. I still watch that, and I'm like, it was, I mean, I'm glad I was playing because I'd had a heart attack if I was watching.
It was rough.
And then 2017, we actually had like probably a better chance to win.
Yep.
And we lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and we played a great game. We just, look, I played great. We didn't win. Then 2018, we freaking found a way to beat the Rams.
I'm glad he said that. So he said we were even better against the Eagles, and I played great, but we still didn't win. Well, that's because of Bill Belichick. So Tom got screwed on that one. That right there, everyone knows. He knows. That's why he said that. He gets it. He thinks about it all the time. And by the way, I honestly believe that the 7th ring, he wanted to get one more than Belichick. He was trying to prove something. I don't think Jordan was ever on his mind. I don't think Jordan is something, it's a different sport. It's just not something that would be the prime motivator. But getting a 7th, getting one outside of New England, I think that was everything for him. At least 50% of the motivation on a day-to-day basis was getting a ring over Belichick. So he says it's not. He's absolutely lying here. But if you think about it, he can't say that. What if he did say that? What if he said, yeah, I wanted one more than Belichick? What if he did what Kobe did when Kobe said, I've got one more than Shaq? You know? What if Brady said that? His relationship with Belichick would now suddenly just change overnight. Patriots fans would suddenly be like, hey, screw you, Brady, you know, and act like little bitches like they did before when he first left. And you'll get even more of that. Nothing good can come from saying that. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't already know. That 7th ring was everything, and it meant something because he got it, and he took his style, he took what he learned from Belichick and what he taught himself over the years, and he went to Tampa Bay and made it work and made it happen.
We weren't the most talented team in 2018. We won on process. We won on culture.
Yeah.
Our culture drivers led us to succeed. We won through work ethic. We went through a lot of intangibles. And then I went to Tampa in 2020, and you know, we put together a great group of players, teammates. Everyone was super focused that year. And then I just think winning Super Bowls was the result of a lot of great process. Like, my view is, like, you can't control the outcome all the time, right? Like, the ball's going to bounce the other team's way. Like, dude caught the ball in his fucking helmet in 2007. That would have been the greatest team ever, and that's like one that still gets me.
Yep.
Because we had a great team that year, and the dude caught the ball in his helmet with one of the greatest players ever played against on his back. Sometimes it should go the other people's way. It shouldn't always go your way. So you get motivated by the losses. You stay motivated through the winning. What you can control is your process. You can control those intangibles. You can control the work ethic.
I appreciate the answer. It's awesome. It's great. But I'm selfish and greedy, man. I got to push back. Let me tell you why. Okay, so I'm writing a book right now. It's going to come out December 5th. It's not out. It's going to come out in like 4 or 5 months. It's called Choose Your Enemies Wisely. I think you've chosen your enemies wisely because I think for me, I'm driven by enemies. I can't even describe it to you. Like, I have a list of all the quotes. Let's say that's really the reason. Let's buy into them. We're going to be skeptical as fans, and we'll have our beers and talk and say, I don't agree, I agree, we'll do our part, right? Because you're the guy, we're on the other side. I don't know. If you're going to do that, then you would have stayed with the team and you would have wrapped it up there. Robert Kraft is willing to give you a 1-day contract. I think he said it this year, May 23rd, to come back. Patriots, I want to do the ceremony, which frickin' is going to be sick. Of course, whether he's joking or whatever, I'm just being playful about it. But, you know, he loves you the way he looks at you. He's got so much love for you. But you come back and you get your 7th. Just like you said, maybe 1% of media drove you. which one of the two drove you more, even if it's by 1% or 0.5%? Is it having one more than Michael or Belichick? I gotta ask you, bro. You're killing me. Even if it's 0.5%,
yeah,
one of the two.
It's Belichick.
I would rather have won than lost. And I'd rather have 7 than 6.
I get it.
But if Coach Belichick was to win a Super Bowl this year, I don't think it takes anything away from me.
That's
I
true.
think it only adds to how great he is.
Yes,
like,
I've said that before.
I have a great appreciation for him because without him, I'm not sitting here today. So, like, he wasn't my competition. He was my competition when I played against him that one game, and we won. But he wasn't, like, I genuinely root for them. I really do. Like, I think every once in a while, and maybe you guys have seen little snippets of me that I do have a little grudge from time to time. And I think that's totally fine. I think emotion, maximizing and optimizing our potential
so he's
is
admitting
physical,
it. It's
mental,
Belichick.
emotional. I believe that.
Yeah.
Physically, I was able to. Mentally, emotionally, there's little triggers absolutely all the time. Some opponent says something, game check. They really didn't want me in high school, check. Oh, I was a 6th-round pick, check. All those little things add up. But the man in the glass, that's the one that motivated me. He's the guy I was accountable to. Nothing that anyone did took away from me. The only person that could take away from me is me.
If that's not the case, let's say that it had nothing to do with Bill, there's no reason to leave New England. He left New England because he got tired of the Belichick way. Okay, so he did it for 20 years, and Bill still wasn't treating him more like an equal. And Tom felt after 16th year, 70s, what else do I need to do before you can just treat me like an equal? And there was some tension with Tom's guy, Guerrero. And Bill was disrespecting Tom, to be honest. And that's how Tom felt. And he wanted to do quarterback-centric things, and Bill wasn't interested in building that around him. And it just wasn't happening. So he left. And if that's not your motivation, then you don't need to leave, do you? You just finish in New England. Why, piss off Patriot fan base and all that? Why go down to Tampa Bay if you're not trying to prove something? You're trying to see if you can do things the way you want them done. If you can pretend that you're the GM all of a sudden, and you can do things the way you want to. That was the whole point of that. That was why he left. And he practically said it just now anyway. Yes, it's Bill.
My interpretation of that answer.
Please.
Okay. The way I take it is, it felt good beating them straight up, the one game that you played. But in my mind, based on what you just said, having one more than Michael is more important than having one more than Belichick. That's how I process what you just said.
No, that's not what he said at all.
Can I live with that? Can you?
I love Michael Jordan as literally. There's no athlete I love
not
more
running
than Michael
for
Jordan.
office.
So Michael's like, if there's your
Not
kids,
running
and that throw. I don't know how they feel about me. I think today
They love
made a
you.
positive
They
impact.
love you. They love you.
Michael Jordan was everyone wanted to be like Mike. So like even when I see Mike today, I'm still like, that's Michael Jordan right there, And I just think he's the coolest guy, and I loved his determination. I love, I see like what Messi's doing here in Miami, like unbelievable. Like I see Cristiano Ronaldo. I admire athletes as much as anybody else. I came and speak because of you. So I came here because I love what you're doing with people. I love how you're trying to impact the world in a positive way.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
So, means a
PBD
lot.
is
Thank
awesome.
you.
You guys to dig a little bit deeper, to learn a few things that you could take back with you in your everyday life to try to maximize your potential and take advantage of the opportunities that you get. And we're not victims of this life. We wake up every day with choices to make, and you get a choice every day. And
Not
like
victims.
I said earlier, I think whether or not you're going to look back on your life as a success is going to be determined by what your values and priorities are, and how often you're willing to wake up every day and make the choices that are going to fulfill you and bring you the joy that you're looking for. So this is a great step in the journey. It's an honor to be with you guys, and hopefully we could do it again sometime. Thank you.
Give it up, Tom Brady.
Yeah, and something interesting that Tom just said there at the end, you're not a victim. You're not a victim. And our social fabric of this country is being poisoned by this idea that everyone is a victim and you're owed something. And of course, what Tom is saying there, and it's a leftist ideology. It's this victim mentality that everyone owes me something. I can't succeed because I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever. Okay. So I'm glad Tom mentioned that. And honestly, it tells you where he stands in most things. With this being a business thing, I'm surprised that PBD didn't ask about the situation with FTX. So I was very surprised that Tom Brady invested and he lost $30 million in the FTX scam. And that's what it was. It was an absolute scam. That Sam Bankman fraud is what I want to call him. He was paying off all just Democrat politicians because he knew one day this was going to catch up with him and he didn't want to be prosecuted. So he was putting all of his money in the right spots. And that just proves to you how corrupt our country is. But the point is that Tom and Giselle invested into that, became ambassadors for that, didn't see it, couldn't see through him. If you take one good look at Sam, I wouldn't give him $1. Okay, I wouldn't trust him with $1. How Tom and Giselle got fooled by this guy, I have no idea. It's crazy, but Tom deserved to lose $30 million. He deserved to lose for not vetting this more and not seeing behind it. And I don't know exactly who advised him on this. So this being a business convention, I'm really surprised that it was wasn't brought up. If it was, maybe it was cut. So I'm not sure, but I think that was something that should have been brought up, considering the context of the situation. Be sure to watch the entire interview uninterrupted. You can check the description for that. If you're new here, please subscribe and click the bell icon. Make sure it's solid color to always be aware of what's going on. And also, please click the like button. It helps with every little bit helps there. We've been demonetized, so if you'd like to support the channel financially, it would be a huge help. Go to patreon.com/VonAllen. And if you go there, you can sign up for different level tiers, and it supports the channel, pays for a lot of things. It allows us to advertise, get the word out, do a lot of different things, pays for equipment and stuff like that. So it allows me to spend more time working on this stuff to give you guys more content. And also you get perks, like for example, you will get entries into our quarterback formula contest. I will be posting some exclusive stuff only to Patreon where it's not allowed on other platforms and things like that, or say go a little farther than I really would be able to somewhere else. So thank you so much, guys, and I really appreciate you. So talk to you soon. VonAllen Sports, let's go.
VonAllen Sports.